we are going to discuss factorizing quadratics with leading coefficients. But before we discuss that, let us have a look at what the meaning is of some of those words. So the first word that we're going to have a look at is we're going to have a look at the word quadratic. Right? A quadratic is a polynomial where the highest degree is 2. So any polynomial where we have a squared plus b by x plus c, where a is any number but 0, so any number but 0, b is any number, and c is any number. So for example, an example of a quadratic could be 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. Another example of a quadratic would be minus 4x squared plus 3x minus 2, where we have a number by x squared, a number by x, and a constant. And that gives us a quadratic. Please note that b and c can be 0. So for example, 3x squared is also a quadratic. Let us now discuss what is a leading coefficient. Before we go into leading coefficient, let us do some revision as to what is a coefficient. So if I have 5x squared minus 6x plus 12, then the coefficient of x is the number next to it. So the coefficient of x would be minus 6. And the coefficient of x squared in this question would be 5. So therefore, when we write it in the standard form with the degrees, the highest degree coming first, the leading coefficient in this question would be 5. That is the coefficient of x squared. Okay, so now let's look at the steps for factorizing a quadratic. So the first step, step 1. Step 1 would be to determine the product of AC. So A and C. So if you remember, we'll use the example to show. Remember, quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. So we're going to multiply a by c. So remember that a is the coefficient of x squared and c is the constant. So the first step is to find a by c, which in this case is 12. Step 2, determine what factors of a and of ac add to b. So we're looking for factors of AC. So in this question, we're looking for factors of 12 that add to b. And in this question, b is 8. So we're looking for factors of 12 that add to 8. So the factors of 12 are, we have 1 by 12, we have 2 by 6, we have 3 by 4. When we add them up, 12 and 1 is 13, so it's not that, we're not looking for that. 2 plus 6 is 8, we are looking for that. And 3 plus 4 is 7, so we're not looking for that. So the two factors that we're looking for are 2 and 6. So just to recap, we find factors of AC that add to b. In this question, a by c was 12 and b is 8. So we're looking for factors of 12 that add to 8. We have 1 by 12, which adds to 13, so we don't want that. And then we got 2 by 6, which added to 8. So this is what we want. The next step is, instead of writing this with 3 terms, we're going to take this middle term and split it into 2 terms. So we bring down the 3x squared. This 8x we are going to turn into 2x plus 6x. So it's the same 8x, it's just that we're splitting it into 2x and 6x. And then we just bring down the plus 4. Now we have a polynomial with 4 terms, and we can now factorize by grouping. So step 3 would have been to ungroup, if we want to use that term, right? So you split it up, you ungroup the middle term, to become the sum of the factors found in step 2. And step 4 would be to factorize by grouping. So let's have a look at it again from the very beginning. The question given to us was 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. The first thing we do is we're going to look for factors of AC that add to B. So we look for the factors of AC, which in this question is 12, that add to B, which in this question is 8. So we say 1 by 12, 1 by 12, when we add that we get 13, so we don't want that. We say 2 by 6, 2 by 6, when we add that we get 8. So we want that, so we can stop there. So step 3 was we now going to ungroup this 8 and turn it into 2x and 6x. So we're going to say 3x squared, so we just bring down the 3x squared, plus 2x plus 6x, and we just bring down the 4. Now we are going to factorize by grouping. So we look at the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms. What is the HCF for the first 2 terms? The HCF for the first 2 terms is x, and we are left with 3x plus 2 when we take it out. And the HCF for the second 2 terms, is positive 2. So, and we're left with 3x plus 2. And so we're left with 3x plus 2 on both. So 3x plus 2 is common to both, and we're left with x plus 2. And that is how we factorize a quadratic. I will do one more example for you. Okay, example 2. What if we had a problem that looked like this? 3x squared plus 7x plus 4. So we know that we're going to look for factors of AC that are going to add to B. So in this question, AC is A by C, so that would be 12, and B is 7. So we're looking for factors of 12 that add to 7. So factors of 12, we go 1 by 12. When we add that, we get 13, so we don't want that. 2 by 6, when we add that, we get 8, we don't want that. 3 by 4, when we add, we get 7, and that is what we're looking for, so we can stop there. The next step we bring down the 3x squared, and we now ungroup the 7x, so we get plus 3x plus 4x, and we bring down the plus 4. So these two are just coming down, and this 7x is splitting into 3x and 4x. Now we can factorize by grouping. So we look at the first pair, and we look to see what is the HCF there. And the HCF there is 3x, and we'll be left with x plus 1. What is the HCF for these two? The HCF is 4, and we'll be left with x plus 1. So x plus 1 is now common to both, so we can pull out the x plus 1, and we're left with 3x plus 4, and we have completed the question. Example 3. 5x squared plus 18x plus 9. So we know that we're looking for factors of AC that add to B. So in this question, A by C is 5 by 4, which is 45, and B is 18. So we're looking for factors of 45 that add to 18. So we have 1 by 45 that adds to 46. We have, well, it's not an even, so we don't have 2 by anything. We have 3 by 15, and that adds to 18. So we know that we want this one, so we can stop there. So we go to ungroup now. 5x squared plus 3x plus 15x plus 9. And we now go to factorize by grouping. So what's the HCF of the first two? And the HCF there is x, and we left with 5x plus 3. What's the HCF of these next two? The HCF here is 3, and we left with 5x plus 3. So we will get 5x plus 3 by x plus 3. And that's it. The question is complete. Okay, let's have a look at another example. 6u squared minus 11u plus 4. So we know we're looking for the factors of AC that add to B. So AC in this case is 6 by 4. So that gives positive 6, positive 4. We have to be careful our signs, so that gives us 24. And the B we're looking for is minus 11. So we must be very careful with our signs. So let's look at the factors of positive 24. We have 1 by 24, and that adds to 25, so we don't want that. We have 2 by 12, and that adds to 14, so we don't want that. We have 3 by 8, and that adds to 11. We don't want that. We want minus 11. So we also know that minus 3 multiplied by minus 8 would give us positive 24. And minus 3 minus 8 adds to minus 11. And that is what we want. So we go to the next step, which is we bring down the 6u squared, and we're now going to split the minus 11u. So instead of minus 11u, we'd have minus 3u minus 8u, and bring down the plus 4. And we now factorize by grouping. So what is the HCF here? The HCF here is 3u, and we left with 2u minus 1. And what is the HCF here? The HCF here is 4, and because here has a minus, we'll take out minus 4. So if we take out minus 4 from each one, we'll be left with a positive 2u, and we'll be left with minus 1. So we get 2u minus 1 for both. So we get 2u minus 1 by 3u minus 4.